Hey warrior, take a moment and consider this. Every person you look up to, every soul that has crafted a life of meaning, every individual who has tapped into genuine peace and unshakable strength, they are all united by one single truth. There came a moment when they stared at their own reflection and admitted, "Who I am right now is no longer sufficient." They embraced the most difficult decision known to humanity, to release the person they were, so they could evolve into the person they were destined to be. Yet, here is the crucial difference most people fail to grasp. The majority of people are on a frantic search for themselves, scrambling for the approval of others, clinging to relationships that leave them empty, stuck in jobs that erode their spirit, and chasing the hollow echo of social media likes. The ones who truly transformed, however, chose a radically different path. They looked within. They stepped back from the clamor, from societal demands, from the comfortable falsehoods they used to believe. They chose to reconstruct their entire being from the foundation upward, and they did it alone. Consider Marcus Aurelius, a man wielding immense power in the ancient world, who penned in his private notes, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. Let that sink in. An emperor, encircled by legions and advisors, recognized that genuine change is forged in isolation. It happens in those silent moments when you're left alone with the unvarnished truth of who you've been and who you have the potential to become. This isn't an argument for misanthropy or hiding from the world. It's about realizing a fundamental principle: before you can form authentic bonds with others, before you can nurture meaningful relationships, before you can offer something of real value to the world, you must first discover who you are when the audience is absent. You must reconstruct your very core, guided by your own principles, your personal aspirations, and your unique definition of a life lived with purpose and honor. That former version of you, the one hungry for external validation, driven by fear, complacent in mediocrity because it's easy, and complaining rather than acting, has fulfilled its role. It carried you to this point, but it lacks the strength to lead you to your destination. The profound shift you desire, the existence you wish to construct, the individual you aim to become, all of it demands the dismantling of obsolete patterns, the discarding of an outdated mindset, the release of a former self that is now a hindrance. And this is the unspoken part of the journey. The initial phase will be lonely. The moment you cease chasing approval, disengage from energy-depleting conversations, start declining things that clash with your values, and begin navigating by your own internal compass rather than external pressures, confusion will arise in others. Some will attempt to drag you back to familiar ground. Others will attempt to shame you for evolving. This is precisely why embarking on this path in solitude is so critical. Solitude isn't a form of punishment, it is a training ground. It's the space where you cultivate trust in your own discernment, where you learn to distinguish your inner voice from the overwhelming volume of external opinions. It's where you forge a confidence rooted in your own being, not one dependent on outside acknowledgement. It's the environment where you uncover your genuine desires, separate from the ones imposed upon you by expectation. The Stoics had a profound grasp of this. They understood that authentic power stems from self-mastery. And self-mastery can only be cultivated when you have the courage to confront yourself honestly, free from the distractions and influences that cloud your perception. This journey isn't a quick fix or a superficial adjustment. It is a fundamental overhaul of your essential self. If you are prepared to embark, if you are weary of remaining static, if you aspire to forge a version of yourself that commands your own respect and pride, then show your support by liking this video, leave a comment below, pass it along to someone who needs this message, hit subscribe, and commit to watching every part of what we're about to uncover. Because what you are about to learn has the power to redefine everything. Drop this affirmation in the comments: I choose to rebuild myself from within. Number 1. Accept that your current self has an expiration date. Here is a truth with the power to unsettle you to your very foundation. The individual you are today, complete with your existing habits, beliefs, limitations, and comfort zones, is not permanent. That person has an expiry date. The speed at which you embrace this fact dictates how quickly you can commence the most critical endeavor of your existence. Seneca, a towering figure in Stoic philosophy, stated, "Every new beginning comes from some other beginning's end." Ponder the weight of that. You are currently living in the final passages of one chapter of your story. The patterns that delivered you here, the mentality that shaped your present, the comfortable identity you've grown accustomed to, all of it must conclude to make way for something superior. This is the primary stumbling block for most. They recognize the need for evolution, yet they are paralyzed by the fear of relinquishing their current identity. They cling to their old self as if it were a priceless artifact, even when that very self is the obstacle to their desired life. They generate justifications. This is simply who I am, or I'm too old to change, or people have certain expectations of me. These are merely narratives you construct to shield yourself from the unease of genuine change. The reality is, you are not a static entity. You are not set in stone. You are an ongoing creation, and you hold the authority to determine the form your next iteration takes. But this requires a willingness to let the current version perish. This means acknowledging that the person who brought you to your present point may not be equipped to lead you to your future aspirations. That aspect of you that settles for less, dodges hard talks, puts off crucial tasks, craves external approval, and lets fear dictate choices, that part must be released. When you wholeheartedly accept this, a profound shift occurs. You cease to be a defender of your own limitations. You stop rationalizing behaviors that hinder you. You let go of an identity designed to keep you small. Instead, you become intrigued by your own potential. You begin posing more powerful questions. What would my highest self do in this moment? What habits would someone with my ambitions cultivate? What beliefs would shape the reality of someone living my ideal life? This acceptance is not about self-loathing or cruelty. It is about radical honesty. It is recognizing that evolution necessitates release. Just as a serpent must shed its constricting skin to expand, you must shed your former identity to grow into who you are meant to be. The snake doesn't mourn its old skin or try to stretch it, it simply lets go of what no longer fits. Those who achieve the most understand this law implicitly. They don't become attached to previous versions of themselves. They are in a constant state of evolution, perpetually ready to abandon yesterday's successful methods if they won't serve tomorrow's goals. They understand that the person they were last year might not have the capacity for the challenges and opportunities that await. This process of release begins with an unflinching assessment of your current reality. Scrutinize your habits, your relationships, your allocation of time, energy, and resources. Examine your conversations, the media you consume, the thoughts that dominate your mind. Ask yourself, is this the lifestyle of someone achieving their dreams? Are these the habits of a person reaching their goals? Is this the mindset of an architect building their desired future? If the answer is no, and for many, it will be, you have just identified what needs to expire. You have pinpointed the aspects of your present self that must be consciously and deliberately concluded, so that a new chapter can commence. The beauty of accepting your own expiration date is the liberation it provides from the prison of, this is just who I am. It unlocks limitless possibilities for your future self. It elevates you from being a product of your circumstances to being the designer of your destiny. However, remember that acceptance must be coupled with action. Intellectual understanding is insufficient. You must be willing to perform the labor of dismantling old structures and erecting new ones. You must embrace the discomfort of releasing the familiar and welcoming new ways of thinking and being. The old you served its purpose. It brought you to this threshold. But its work is complete. Express gratitude for its service, release it, and allow the person you are destined to become to finally step forward. Number 2, stop seeking permission to change your life. There is a common behavior that silently sabotages more potential for change than any other, and most people are oblivious to it. They ask for permission. They pollute their environment with inquiries, seeking validation that it's acceptable to evolve, to desire more, to become someone different. And when the responses, often from people entrenched in their own stagnation, are negative, they discard their ambitions and retreat into mediocrity. Epictetus, who rose from the bondage of slavery to become one of history's most revered philosophers, taught, no one can hurt you without your permission. But the deeper implication he understood, which many miss, is that this includes granting others the authority to limit you. Every time you solicit someone else's opinion on whether you should chase a goal, every time you seek a stamp of approval for your aspirations, every time you allow another person's comfort zone to dictate your potential, you are handing them the keys to keep you constrained. Consider this carefully. The people around you have acclimated to a specific version of you. Their expectations, their dynamics with you, and even their own self-perception are partially constructed around the person you have been. When you begin to speak of transformation, of growth, of becoming someone new, it disturbs their equilibrium. It's not necessarily a lack of love, but rather your evolution serves as a mirror reflecting their own inertia. So, what is their typical response? They try to dissuade you. They resurrect past failures. They counsel you to be realistic. They utter phrases like, "That's not the real you," or "People like us don't achieve things like that," or "You should just be content with what you have." If you are actively seeking their endorsement to change, you will internalize these words as absolute truth and surrender before you've even begun. But here is the essential truth you must grasp: you require no one's consent to reshape your existence. You don't need familial approval to follow your dreams. You don't need friends to comprehend your new habits. You don't need colleagues to endorse your elevated standards. You don't need societal validation to live by your own moral code. The instant you cease your search for permission, you reclaim your innate power. It is the moment you awaken to the reality that your life is your own canvas, your future is your own creation, and your potential is yours alone to unlock. No one else has a vote on the magnitude of what you can become. This is not an endorsement of arrogance or a dismissal of sound counsel. It is about developing the discernment to differentiate between wisdom that fosters growth and opinions that perpetuate stagnation. It means refusing to inherit the limitations of others. It means preventing the fears of others from becoming your own. Once you stop seeking permission, your decisions begin to flow from your own vision, not the expectations of others. Your actions are driven by your own objectives, not the comfort zones of those around you. You start constructing an existence that mirrors your values, not a reflection of everyone else's opinions. History's most impactful figures embodied this principle. They didn't request authorization to innovate, to create, to challenge norms, to transcend their current state. They simply determined who they intended to become and then dedicated themselves to the work required, irrespective of external noise. This is particularly vital during the solitary work of rebuilding yourself. Solitude provides the necessary space to hear your own voice above the din of external viewpoints. It grants the clarity to perceive your authentic wants versus the ones imposed by outside pressure. It furnishes the bravery to walk your own path instead of following a map drawn by someone else. However, ending this pattern of seeking permission demands conscious effort. You must catch yourself before asking someone if your dream is practical. You must notice when you're looking for validation on choices that are solely yours. You must recognize when you're letting others' reactions steer your actions. Instead of seeking permission, pivot to seeking information. Instead of asking if you should, research how to. Instead of wondering if you're allowed to change, concentrate on cultivating the necessary skills and mindset. Instead of looking for approval, seek out mentors who have already walked the path you aspire to. Remember, those who genuinely love you will eventually embrace your transformation when they witness its positive results. Those who cannot support your growth were never truly aligned with your journey. Your task isn't to persuade them of the validity of your change. Your task is to change, and let the undeniable results serve as your testimony. Drop this affirmation in the comments: I am the author of my own transformation. Number 3. Embrace the discomfort of becoming unknown. Here is a concept that will unsettle the majority of people. When you fully dedicate yourself to reconstruction, you will become a stranger to everyone around you, and most frighteningly, to yourself. The person you are evolving into lacks a history. There are no proven results associated with them, no comfortable patterns, no predictable outcomes. This emergent version of you exists purely as potential. This is precisely why most individuals never allow them to materialize. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, advised to confine yourself to the present. He grasped a profound nuance within this guidance. The present moment is the crucible of transformation. And transformation invariably necessitates venturing into the unfamiliar. Each instant you choose to act in a way that diverges from your past, you are generating a version of yourself that has never existed before. The majority are addicted to the predictable version of themselves. Even if that version leads to misery, they take solace in knowing precisely how they will react, what to expect from their days and their relationships. There is a perverse comfort in predictable disappointment. But when you initiate the process of rebuilding, certainty evaporates. You cannot predict how this new self will handle stress, what they will desire in relationships, how they will spend their free time, or how they will confront challenges. This ambiguity is terrifying because you are, in essence, creating a person who does not yet exist. Your surroundings will perceive this shift, and it will unsettle them as well. You'll hear comments like, "You've changed," or, "I don't even recognize you," or, "What happened to the old you?" These are not necessarily criticisms, they are observations of your reality. You have changed. They don't recognize you. The former you is receding. And that is the entire objective. But you must internalize this. This discomfort is the entry fee to a superior existence. You cannot remain static and anticipate different outcomes. You cannot cling to familiar patterns and hope for growth. You cannot dwell in comfort and expect to transform. The unease of becoming unknown is temporary, the regret of remaining static is permanent. When you confront and accept this discomfort instead of fleeing from it, a remarkable discovery awaits. You find that your capabilities far exceed your imagination. You realize that the limitations you perceived as permanent were merely ingrained habits. You uncover reserves of strength, wisdom, and potential you never knew you possessed. This journey demands immense courage because you are essentially placing a wager on a version of yourself you've never encountered. You are investing your most precious resources, time, energy, effort, into becoming someone who currently exists only as a vision of possibility. You are constructing a life founded on faith in your own potential, not on the evidence of your past performance. The essential skill is to become at ease with not knowing. Become comfortable with the awkwardness of practicing new behaviors. Become comfortable with the uncertainty that accompanies raising your standards, altering your habits, and shifting your entire approach to life. Become comfortable with the fact that the person you are becoming might desire different things, value different experiences, and make different choices than the person you are today. This unknown version of yourself is like a muscle, it strengthens with use. Each time you opt for the new behavior, each time you make the uncomfortable choice over the familiar one, each time you act as if you are the person you want to become, you are accumulating evidence that this new self is authentic, capable, and deserving of existence. The discomfort of becoming unknown is actually a signal that you are on the correct trajectory. It signifies you are outgrowing your former constraints. It means you are expanding beyond your previous boundaries. It indicates you are clearing space for a self that is more aligned with your true potential. Do not allow the fear of the unfamiliar to imprison you in a life that no longer reflects who you are meant to be. The person you are evolving into is worthy of the temporary unease of not yet knowing them. Trust the process, welcome the uncertainty, and have confidence that the unknown version of yourself surpasses the familiar one you are leaving behind. Drop this affirmation in the comments: I trust the unknown version of myself. Number 4. Build your foundation in solitude. There is a reason every significant historical transformation began with an individual stepping away from the collective. It wasn't born from misanthropy or a desire to be antisocial. It stemmed from an understanding that most people never acquire: you cannot reconstruct yourself while you are still performing for an audience. You cannot unearth your authentic self while you are preoccupied with being who everyone anticipates you to be. Lao Tzu taught, at the center of your being, you have the answer, you know who you are and you know what you want. The challenge, however, is that most individuals never attain the necessary quiet, stillness, or solitude to perceive that inner voice. They are perpetually immersed in a sea of noise, opinions, expectations, distractions, that drowns out their own innate wisdom. Reflect on a typical day in your life. How much of it is genuinely spent alone with your thoughts? Not scrolling, not watching, not listening to external input, not conversing, just you, in silence, with your own mind. For the vast majority, the answer approaches zero. This is precisely why they experience feelings of being lost, confused, and detached from their own purpose. Solitude is not loneliness. Loneliness is the feeling of emptiness when you are by yourself. Solitude is the feeling of completeness when you are by yourself. It is the distinction between fleeing from yourself and moving toward yourself. When you cultivate comfort in your own company, when you learn to appreciate your own thoughts, when you develop trust in your own judgment, that is when genuine transformation becomes attainable. In solitude, the performance ends. You cease trying to be impressive, likable, or acceptable to an external audience. You can finally be honest about what you truly desire versus what you believe you should want. You can acknowledge your authentic feelings rather than the ones deemed appropriate. You can admit your genuine aspirations instead of the ones that put others at ease. This is the environment where you construct your foundation. In those quiet moments, with no one watching, you decide the kind of person you are committed to becoming. You establish your values based on your own comprehension, not on a pre-approved list from others. You formulate your own vision of success rather than adopting a predefined definition. You cultivate your own standards instead of diminishing them to align with the crowd. However, when you initially embrace solitude, be prepared for certain discoveries. You will encounter thoughts and emotions you never knew resided within you. You will unearth dreams that were buried years ago. You will reconnect with parts of yourself that were lost in the pursuit of conformity, approval, or meeting expectations. Some of these revelations will be uncomfortable, as they will illuminate just how far you've drifted from your core self. This is the very reason most people avoid solitude. They are apprehensive about what they might unearth when left alone with themselves. They fear discovering a dissatisfaction with the life they've built, the relationships they've accepted, or the person they've become. So they maintain a constant state of busyness, distraction, and noise to avoid this confrontation. But the individuals who truly transform their lives do the opposite. They actively seek solitude. They carve out space for silence. They invest time in getting to know themselves, free from external influence. They utilize this time to strategize, to dream, to set intentions, to cultivate new habits, to practice new skills, and to contemplate deeply the architecture of their desired life. In solitude, you also learn to distinguish your own voice from the chorus of others that has taken up residence in your mind. You begin to realize how much of what you considered your own thinking was merely the internalized opinions of family, society, or peers. You start to separate your authentic desires from those programmed into you by external forces. This foundation, built in solitude, becomes unshakable because it rests on your own truth, not on external validation. When you know who you are when no one is watching, when you know what you want when no one is influencing you, when you know what you value when no one is pressuring you, that knowledge becomes an infallible compass for every decision. The strongest individuals are those at ease in their own company because they have learned to be their own best companion. They don't require constant entertainment, validation, or social interaction to feel whole. They have cultivated an internal world that is rich, engaging, and fulfilling. This internal fortitude then radiates outward, drawing the right people, opportunities, and experiences into their lives. Begin creating daily pockets of solitude. Even if it's just 15 minutes before you check your phone in the morning, or 30 minutes after the household settles down at night. Use this time to think, to plan, to dream, to become acquainted with yourself. This is not wasted time, it is the most significant investment you can make in your future. Drop this affirmation in the comments: I am comfortable in my own company. Number 5, stop explaining yourself to people who don't understand your vision. There exists a trap that destroys more aspirations than failure ever could, the compulsion to articulate your vision to those who lack one of their own. You become energized by your transformation, you begin to share your goals and plans, and subsequently, you invest countless hours attempting to persuade others that your dreams are legitimate, realistic, or worthwhile. By the time you've finished justifying yourself, your momentum has evaporated, and your own belief in yourself is severely diminished. Epictetus understood this principle implicitly when he advised, don't explain your philosophy. Embody it. He recognized that people don't need to comprehend your rationale for changing, they simply need to witness your results. When you attempt to explain your vision to someone incapable of seeing it, you are essentially asking them to have faith in an experience they've never had. It's analogous to describing the color blue to a person blind from birth. The issue isn't that these individuals are inherently bad or unsupportive. The issue is that they are operating from their own level of consciousness, their own set of experiences, their own limitations. They can only perceive possibilities that exist within their own framework of understanding. When your vision surpasses their experience, they are literally unable to grasp it, regardless of how clearly you articulate it. Consider the people in your life at this moment. How many of them are actively engaged in their own transformation? How many possess a clear vision for their own future? How many are willing to sacrifice comfort for the sake of growth? If the answer is few or none, then these are not the individuals from whom you should be seeking validation regarding your transformative journey. When you try to explain your vision to those who cannot comprehend it, several detrimental things occur. First, you begin to doubt yourself. Their confusion becomes infectious, seeding your own confusion. Their lack of faith chips away at your own. Their questions about feasibility plant seeds of doubt about your own path. Second, you squander precious energy that should be channeled into constructing your new life, on defending your right to build it. Third, and most perilously, you start to dilute your vision to make it more palatable for them. You temper your goals to seem more realistic. You lower your standards to appear more achievable. You shrink your dreams to be more understandable. Before you realize it, you are no longer constructing the life you desire, you are building a compromised version designed for the comfort of others. History's most accomplished individuals understood this. They didn't squander energy trying to convert everyone around them to their way of thinking. They simply pursued their vision with relentless focus and allowed their results to communicate for them. They understood that some people will never comprehend your dreams until they witness you living them out. This doesn't necessitate secrecy or antisocial behavior regarding your journey. It means becoming selective about your confidants. You seek out those who are also in a state of growth, also transforming, also reaching for something beyond their current reality. You pursue mentors, coaches, and communities of like-minded individuals who intuitively understand what it means to rebuild oneself from within. When someone inquires about the changes they observe in you, you are not obligated to provide a justification. A simple, "I'm focusing on becoming the best version of myself," suffices. You owe no one a detailed breakdown of your goals, your methods, or your timeline. Your transformation is not a committee project requiring unanimous approval. Instead of explaining your philosophy, embody it. Instead of discussing your vision, actively work towards it. Instead of trying to convince others that change is possible, become the living proof that it is. As people witness you growing more confident, more centered, more successful, more at peace, explanations become superfluous. The evidence is its own argument. Remember, the people who genuinely matter in your life will support your evolution, even if they don't fully grasp your methods. They will trust your judgment because they trust you. Those who attempt to discourage your growth, who demand explanations for your improvements, who make you feel guilty for aspiring to more, these individuals are demonstrating that they are not aligned with your highest good. Your responsibility is not to ensure everyone understands your path. Your responsibility is to walk the path. Cease explaining and commence becoming. The right people will comprehend without words, and the wrong people will never comprehend, no matter how many words you use. Drop this affirmation in the comments: "I am the author of my own transformation." Note, this affirmation was repeated from number 2 in the original, so I kept it as is, but you may want a unique one like, "I embody my vision, I don't explain it." Number 6, master the art of saying no to your old self. Every single day, your former self will knock on the door of your consciousness, requesting re-entry. It will masquerade as comfort, convenience, or a harmless, "just this once." It will whisper reminders of how effortless life used to be when your standards were lower, your goals were fewer, and your responsibility to your future self was non-existent. This is the precise point where most people falter in their transformation. They keep saying yes to the person they're striving to leave behind. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this and you will find strength. In practical terms, this means that at every moment, you are casting a vote. You are choosing between the old version of yourself and the new one you are constructing. Each decision is a ballot for your future identity. If you keep voting for the old you, that is who you will remain. Your old self is persistent because it is familiar. It knows every one of your vulnerabilities, every excuse you find convincing, every pathway to rationalize a return to old patterns. It will murmur, "You deserve a break, one time won't matter, you can start fresh tomorrow, this is too hard, maybe you're expecting too much." These are not random thoughts, they are the voice of your outdated programming, attempting to lure you back into comfortable mediocrity. But understand this, saying no to your old self is not merely about avoiding detrimental habits. It is about safeguarding the new identity you are in the process of building. Each time you select the new behavior over the old one, you fortify your belief in your own capacity for change. Each no to an old pattern is a resounding yes to the person you are becoming. This requires what the Stoics termed the discipline of desire, the capacity to want what serves your highest good over what feels pleasurable in the immediate moment. It means choosing the workout over the couch, the nourishing meal over the processed comfort food, the difficult conversation over the comfortable silence, the investment in your future over instant gratification. The cunning nature of your old self is that it won't demand you abandon all progress at once. Instead, it negotiates. It requests small compromises. Just skip the workout today, just eat poorly this one meal, just procrastinate on this one task, just avoid this one uncomfortable conversation. Yet, these small compromises accumulate into significant failures in transformation. You must become ruthless in these negotiations. When your old self presents itself with excuses, comfort-seeking behaviors, or familiar patterns that no longer serve you, your response must be an unequivocal no. Not, maybe later, not, just this once, not, I'll start tomorrow, simply, no. This doesn't mean becoming rigid or impossible to coexist with. It means becoming highly selective about what you permit into your life. You begin asking different questions. Does this choice serve the person I am becoming? Will this decision move me closer to my goals or further away? Is this behavior aligned with my new values or my old patterns? The beautiful aspect of mastering this skill is that it becomes easier with practice. Each time you say no to the old and yes to the new, you generate momentum. You create irrefutable evidence that you are, in fact, changing. You reinforce the neural pathways supporting your new identity while weakening those supporting the old. However, you must also be prepared for your old self to intensify its efforts before it finally subsides. It will throw tantrums. It will make you feel deprived, restricted, as if you're missing out. This is normal and temporary. It's analogous to a muscle accustomed to weakness being suddenly challenged to grow strong. There will be resistance and discomfort. The key is to reconnect with your initial motivation. Remember the vision you hold for your life. Remember the person you are determined to become. Remember the feeling of living beneath your potential versus the feeling of actualizing it. When your old self comes knocking with its comfortable lies and facile excuses, remind yourself that comfort is the antagonist of growth. Begin to treat each choice as sacred. Every decision you make is either constructing the person you aspire to be or maintaining the person you wish to leave behind. There are no neutral choices in transformation. You are either advancing or regressing. You are either affirming your future or affirming your past. Master this art of saying no to your old self, and you will discover that saying yes to your new self becomes automatic. You will naturally gravitate toward behaviors that align with your goals, values, and vision. You will become someone who can be trusted to do what is right, even when no one is watching, even when it is difficult, even when your old self is pleading for you to give up. Drop this affirmation in the comments: I choose my future self over my comfort. Number 7. Create systems that make your old patterns impossible. This is where most people fundamentally misunderstand transformation. They place their faith in willpower and motivation to reshape their lives. They operate under the assumption that if they desire it intensely enough, try hard enough, and push through the resistance, they will eventually emerge as a different person. But willpower is a finite resource, motivation is fleeting, and resistance is a constant companion. Individuals who genuinely transform their lives operate from a different understanding. They don't merely fight their old patterns, they engineer their environment to render those patterns impossible to sustain. James Clear, synthesizing ancient wisdom with modern behavioral science, articulated this truth: you do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. The Stoics grasped this principle 2 millennia ago. They knew that enduring change isn't born from Herculean effort, but from intelligent design. Consider it this way: if your goal is to eliminate junk food from your diet, you could rely on willpower to resist temptation every time it appears. Alternatively, you could remove all junk food from your home, consciously avoid the aisles where it's displayed, and stock your environment with healthy alternatives. Which strategy is more likely to yield long-term success? The second approach works because it alters your surroundings to support your new identity, rather than forcing you to constantly battle your old one. It eliminates friction for positive choices and introduces friction for negative ones. It makes the right decision the easy decision, and the wrong decision the difficult one. This is the essence of creating systems. You are designing your life so that the person you want to become emerges as the natural outcome of your daily environment, not as an exception to it. You are constructing structures that render your new behaviors automatic and your old behaviors virtually impossible. Begin with your physical environment. Survey your living space, your workspace, your vehicle. What behaviors does this environment encourage? If you aspire to read more, are books prominently displayed and easily accessible, or are they tucked away while your television dominates the room? If you aim to exercise regularly, are your workout clothes laid out and your bag packed, or do you have to search for everything when motivation strikes? Your environment should be configured to serve the person you are becoming, not the person you used to be. Every object, every arrangement should facilitate good choices and hinder bad ones. This isn't about achieving perfection, it's about minimizing friction for the behaviors you wish to cultivate. However, systems extend beyond the physical. They encompass your schedule, your routines, your social connections, and your information diet. If you want to enhance your focus, you don't merely try harder, you eliminate distractions. You disable notifications. You establish specific times for checking email and social media. You structure your day so that your most critical work aligns with your peak energy levels. If you want to cultivate a more positive mindset, you don't just attempt to think positive thoughts, you intentionally consume positive content, spend time with optimistic people, and create routines that anchor you in a positive state. You make optimism the path of least resistance in your daily life. The most potent systems are those that compound over time. Small modifications in your environment and routines generate small shifts in your behavior. Small shifts in your behavior produce small changes in your identity. Small changes in your identity accumulate into significant changes in your results. These incremental adjustments compound into a profound transformation. The critical nuance is that your systems must be designed for the person you are becoming, not the person you are today. If you design systems based on your current level of discipline, you will remain at your current level. You need systems that actively pull you forward into your desired identity. This means making the system slightly challenging but not overwhelming. If you've never exercised, don't create a system demanding 2 hours at the gym daily. Design one that makes a 15-minute workout easy. Once that becomes automatic, you can incrementally increase the challenge. The beauty of well-designed systems is their reliability. They function even on days when your motivation is absent, your willpower is depleted, or you are fatigued or distracted. Your systems continue to operate, carrying you forward even when you feel incapable of carrying yourself. The majority attempt to force change through sheer exertion. The wisest, however, affect change through design. They cultivate conditions that make their new life inevitable, rather than struggling to force their old life to change. Stop battling your old patterns and start designing systems that render them irrelevant. Create an environment, schedule, and routine that naturally generate the behaviors of the person you aspire to become. Make your transformation automatic, not heroic. Drop this affirmation in the comments: I design my environment for my future self. Number 8. Learn to love the process more than the outcome. Herein lies the distinction between those who change temporarily and those who transform permanently. The temporary changers are fixated on reaching the destination. The permanent changers, however, fall in love with the journey. They understand a profound truth that most overlook: the person you evolve into during the pursuit of your goals holds more value than the goals themselves. Seneca wrote, "The willing, destiny guides them. The unwilling, destiny drags them." His insight was that resisting the process of change, constantly focusing on when it will be over, when you will arrive, when you will finally be the person you want to be, renders every day of your transformation miserable. Conversely, when you embrace the process, when you discover joy in the daily labor of self-improvement, transformation ceases to be an ordeal to endure and becomes an experience to enjoy. Many approach transformation as if it were a prison sentence. They count down the days until they can revert to their old habits. They perceive discipline as punishment, hard work as suffering, and delayed gratification as deprivation. They perpetually ask, when will this get easier? When will I see results? When can I stop doing this and just be the person I want to be? This mindset is a blueprint for failure because it treats your new behaviors as temporary inconveniences rather than permanent lifestyle shifts. The moment you achieve a goal, or the moment progress becomes arduous, you will abandon the very behaviors that generated your success, simply because you never learned to value them for their own sake. Those who sustain long-term transformation possess a different perspective. They recognize that there is no final destination where you become perfect and cease to require effort. There is no finish line where growth, challenge, and self-cultivation end. The process of becoming better is an ongoing journey. The sooner you learn to cherish that journey, the sooner you transition from feeling like you are sacrificing to feeling like you are investing in yourself. This shift occurs when you begin to pay attention to how the process itself is reshaping you. Notice how discipline enhances your confidence. Observe how hard work elevates your self-respect. Recognize how delayed gratification strengthens your self-trust. Acknowledge how pushing through resistance fortifies you, not just physically, but mentally and emotionally. During a workout, don't fixate solely on the weight you want to shed or the muscle you want to gain. Pay attention to the feeling of honoring a commitment to yourself. Notice how your energy levels improve throughout the day. Observe the decrease in your stress levels. Acknowledge the increase in your self-worth each time you accomplish something your former self would have avoided. As you cultivate new habits, don't just focus on the end result. Pay attention to the feeling of exercising control over your choices. Notice the growth in your confidence as you realize you have the power to change any facet of your life. Observe the sense of peace that comes from living in accordance with your values instead of being driven by impulses. The process itself transforms into the reward when you realize that every day you adhere to your new standards, every day you prioritize growth over comfort, every day you act in the manner of the person you aspire to become, you are not merely working towards a goal. You are providing yourself with proof that you are capable of being whoever you decide to be. This realization is incredibly empowering because it renders you independent of external outcomes. You don't need to see a change on the scale to feel good about your workout. You don't need others to acknowledge your progress to feel proud of your effort. You don't need perfect results to feel successful, because your measure of success is your dedication to the process itself. When you love the process, consistency ceases to be a forced act. You don't need to motivate yourself to do things you genuinely enjoy. You don't need to force yourself to maintain habits that inherently make you feel good. You don't need to push yourself to continue behaviors that are tangibly improving your life every single day. The most accomplished individuals in any field embody this principle. They derive satisfaction from the daily discipline of improvement. They find joy in the practice, not just the performance. They are energized by the process of growth, not solely by the moment of achievement. This is the secret to sustaining excellence for decades while others extinguish themselves after a few months. Begin to actively look for reasons to appreciate what you are doing right now to become who you want to be. Unearth the joy embedded in the discipline. Find the satisfaction inherent in the struggle. Discover the peace within the process. When you make this cognitive shift, transformation stops being a chore and becomes a privilege. Drop this affirmation in the comments: I am in love with the process of becoming. Number 9. Stop waiting for perfect conditions to take imperfect action. There is a pervasive falsehood that traps more people in stagnation than any other: I'll start when the conditions are perfect. They are perpetually waiting for the ideal moment, the precise resources, the complete knowledge, the unwavering support, the flawless circumstances. They operate under the illusion that successful people possessed every advantage and all the answers before they embarked on their own transformation. But here is a truth with the power to revolutionize your perspective: perfect conditions do not create perfect people. Perfect people create perfect conditions. Epictetus, who elevated himself from slavery to become one of history's preeminent philosophers, instructed, first say to yourself what you would be, then do what you have to do. Observe that he did not say, first wait until you have everything you need, then decide what you want to be. He understood that clarity emerges from action, not precedes it. You discover who you can become by beginning to become them, not by postponing action until you feel fully prepared. Those who wait for perfect conditions are, in reality, waiting for a guarantee that they will not fail, will not struggle, will not encounter obstacles, will not make errors. But transformation offers no such guarantees. It presents challenges, setbacks, uncertainty, and the perpetual necessity to adapt and learn along the way. The individuals who successfully transform their lives are not the ones blessed with perfect conditions, they are the ones who launch their journey with imperfect conditions and consistently improve them. Right now, you likely feel you lack sufficient time, money, knowledge, support, confidence, or clarity about the exact path to becoming your desired self. And the truth is, you always will. There will perpetually be something missing, something you wish you had more of, something that could ostensibly make the journey smoother. If you wait for all those elements to align flawlessly, your wait will be endless. However, observe what occurs when you initiate action despite imperfect conditions. You generate momentum. Momentum fosters confidence. Confidence informs better decisions. Better decisions yield better results. Better results create improved conditions. And improved conditions unlock further opportunities for growth. The very act of starting with what you have begins to attract what you need. Furthermore, when you take imperfect action, your rate of learning accelerates far beyond those who wait. You discover what is effective and what is not through tangible experience, not theoretical speculation. You develop skills through practice, not through preparation. You build confidence through doing, not through contemplating. Many believe they need to have their entire transformation meticulously planned before they commence. They desire a comprehensive blueprint, a definitive timeline, guaranteed outcomes, and ideal circumstances. Yet, the most successful transformations occur when individuals commit to a direction and then navigate the specific steps as they go. You don't need to know the precise method of becoming your ideal self. You simply need to identify the immediate next step and possess the willingness to take it. You don't require perfect conditions to begin. You require an unwavering commitment to continue, irrespective of the conditions. Consider this: if you wait until you have enough time to exercise, you will never exercise, because there will always be competing demands for your time. But if you start exercising with the time you do have, you will discover ways to create even more time for it. If you wait until you have enough money to invest in your growth, you will never invest, because expenses will always arise. But if you start investing whatever amount you can, you will find avenues to increase that investment. The very conditions you are waiting for are frequently generated by the actions you are avoiding. You desire more confidence. Begin taking action despite feeling unconfident. You desire more knowledge. Begin learning while you are doing. You desire more support. Begin supporting yourself by honoring the promises you make to yourself. You desire better circumstances. Begin making superior choices within the circumstances you currently have. Imperfect action consistently outperforms perfect inaction. The person who works out inconsistently is in better physical condition than the person with the flawless workout plan that never materializes. The person who maintains a generally healthy diet is healthier than the person with comprehensive nutritional knowledge who never applies it. The person who takes imperfect steps toward their objectives is closer to achievement than the person who waits for perfect clarity. Your transformation does not demand perfect conditions. It demands consistent action taken in the face of imperfect conditions. Start from where you are. Utilize what you have. Execute what you can. The optimal moment to begin is now, with whatever resources are at your disposal, in whatever manner you can manage. Perfect conditions are a luxury that successful individuals fabricate through the very act of taking imperfect action. Drop this affirmation in the comments: I start now, with what I have, where I am. Number 10. Trust that your future self will thank you for starting today. Here is the ultimate truth, the one that will either ignite your transformation or condemn you to remain perpetually in place. Every single day you postpone becoming who you are meant to be is a day you are stealing from your future self. Every moment spent fabricating excuses, seeking comfort, or anticipating perfect conditions is a moment your future self will desperately wish they could reclaim. Conversely, every step you take today towards self-improvement is a gift you are bestowing upon every subsequent version of yourself. Marcus Aurelius, reflecting on the nature of time and legacy, wrote, Time is like a river made up of the events which happen, and a violent stream, for as soon as a thing has been seen, it is carried away, and another comes in its place, and this will also be carried away. He understood that life is not a dress rehearsal. The time you currently possess to transform yourself is not guaranteed to exist tomorrow. The opportunity to become who you wish to be is available now, in this present moment, and it may not be available later. Your future self is counting on the decisions you are making today. They are hoping you will choose the workout over the couch, the healthy meal over the comfort food, the difficult conversation over the comfortable silence, the investment in growth over the instant gratification. They are praying you will begin constructing the habits, cultivating the mindset, and executing the actions that will forge the life they long to live. But here is the beautiful reciprocity in this relationship with your future self. They are not merely hoping for your good choices, they are poised to reward you for making them. Each time you select growth over comfort today, your future self gets to experience the compounding benefits of that choice. Each time you say no to old patterns and yes to your new identity, you are actively creating a superior reality for the person you are in the process of becoming. Take a moment to reflect on your past self. Are there decisions they made that you are grateful for today? Perhaps they saved money that later provided a cushion during a difficult period. Maybe they acquired a skill that subsequently opened doors for you. Perhaps they prioritized their health, and you are now reaping the benefits. Maybe they ended a relationship that was no longer serving them, which created space for more fulfilling connections in your life now. Now, conversely, consider decisions your past self made that you wish they hadn't. Perhaps they neglected their health, and you are now dealing with the repercussions. Maybe they avoided difficult conversations, leaving you with unresolved conflicts. Perhaps they chose comfort over growth, leaving you to start from a place you wish was more advanced. This is precisely the dynamic you are currently engaged in with your future self. The choices you make today will manifest as either gifts or burdens for the person you become tomorrow, next month, next year. Your future self will either express gratitude for the discipline, courage, and vision you demonstrate today, or they will lament that you weren't stronger, braver, or more committed to their well-being. The most potent motivation for transformation isn't merely what you will acquire, but who you will evolve into during the process of acquisition. Your future self will not only possess better results, they will possess the confidence born from consistently keeping promises to themselves. They will have the self-respect forged by undertaking difficult tasks even when they didn't feel inclined. They will have the inner strength cultivated by repeatedly choosing growth over comfort. But your future self will also possess something even more invaluable, self-trust. They will know, with certainty, that when they set a goal, they will achieve it. When they make a commitment, they will honor it. When they encounter a challenge, they will navigate it. This self-trust becomes the bedrock upon which everything else in their life is constructed. Every day you postpone your transformation, you are teaching yourself a lesson of unreliability. You are reinforcing the belief that you will invariably find an excuse to avoid what you know you should do. You are creating a pattern of self-betrayal that renders every future goal seem less attainable. But every day you show up for your transformation, especially when you don't feel like it, you are providing yourself with proof that you are the kind of person who keeps their word. You are accumulating evidence of your capacity for change. You are generating momentum that renders future growth easier and more organic. Your future self is not an abstract idea. They are the tangible person you will become, sculpted by the choices you are making in this very moment. They are waiting for you to bestow upon them the gift of a life lived with intention, relationships of genuine value, health worth enjoying, and achievements worthy of celebration. But they cannot create any of that without your cooperation today. The transformation you are contemplating is not solely about enhancing your external circumstances. It is about becoming someone who can be entrusted with better circumstances. It is about cultivating the character, the wisdom, and the fortitude to handle the life you claim to desire. Your future self is depending on you to become worthy of the dreams you hold today. Cease stealing from your future self by postponing your growth. Cease betraying them by prioritizing comfort over character. Cease disappointing them by generating excuses instead of progress. Begin today. Begin now. Begin with whatever resources you have, from wherever you stand, in whatever way you can. Your future self is waiting, and they believe in you, even on the days when your own belief wavers. Drop this affirmation in the comments: I am building a future my soul can be proud of. You have now been presented with 10 fundamental truths that distinguish those who transform their lives from those who merely contemplate it. However, awareness of these truths is insufficient. Comprehending these principles will catalyze no change unless you are prepared to act upon them. The pertinent question is not whether this information resonates with you intellectually. The pertinent question is whether you are ready to implement it. At this moment, you stand at a crossroads. You can close this video, revert to your customary routine, and remain the same individual you were before you started. Alternatively, you can declare today as the day you finally cease discussing change and commence being the change. You can make this the instant you stop being a victim of your circumstances and start being the architect of your destiny. The former self has had its moment. It fulfilled its purpose, it delivered you to this point. But it cannot guide you to your next destination. The person you are required to become, stronger, wiser, more disciplined, more aligned with your core values, is waiting for you to grant them permission to exist. They are waiting for you to dismantle the patterns, beliefs, and habits that confine them to mere potential instead of allowing them to inhabit reality. Remember, this transformation is initially a solitary endeavor. Not because you harbor animosity toward people, but because you recognize you cannot offer what you do not possess. You cannot love others deeply if you lack self-respect. You cannot build meaningful relationships if you are a stranger to yourself. You cannot contribute significant value to the world without first cultivating your own intrinsic value. The solitude, the discomfort, the uncertainty, the resistance from others, all of it is transient. However, the individual you become through this process, the confidence you cultivate, the self-respect you develop, the life you construct, that is permanent. That is the foundation upon which everything else in your existence will be erected. Your future self is counting on the decision you are making in this instant. They are hoping you will finally abandon the wait for perfect conditions and commence taking imperfect action. They are hoping you will cease seeking permission from others and begin trusting your own vision. They are hoping you will stop explaining yourself and start embodying the change you wish to see. The period for contemplating transformation has concluded. The era of transformation itself has begun. If this message resonated with something profound within you, express it by liking this video. Commit to your change by commenting below. Extend this message to someone who needs to hear it by sharing it. And ensure you subscribe to this channel for continued wisdom to support your journey. The former you concludes today. The new you commences now. Make the choice that your future self will thank you for making.